But I want to hear about there's two anecdotes that really jumped out at me as smoking guns that I want to hear about, and then we're going to bring in the audience. The first one, tell the story of how China basically directly sent Joe Biden $40,000.
Yeah. So if you remember, 10% for the big guy. And there was a deal. There's two things I think everyone remembers. The email that said 10% for the big guy. And then you remember the WhatsApp message that the IRS whistleblowers disclosed that said Hunter sent the Chinese national, said, I'm sitting here. My father is right beside me. And if you don't comply with what you agreed to when he was sitting vice president of the United States, then we're going to come after you. This was just days after Joe Biden left the vice presidency. They were expecting a wire, and the wire hadn't come. That's when Hunter sent that WhatsApp message. So he sent the WhatsApp message. The next day, they wired $100,000 just to say, okay, this is a down payment. You're going to get the rest of the money. A week after that, they got $5 million wired. $5 million. And it was wired. And it starts going through the laundering process through the different shell companies. But when the first wire comes, $5 million, Hunter charges it a fee. One of his LLCs was his lawyer business, even though he didn't practice law. It was his professional LLC. And they charged a fee. The fee was $400,000. Okay. $40,000 then ends up in Joe Biden's pocket.
Wait a minute. Are there any math majors here that can do 10% of 400,000?
10% of 400,000 is $40,000.
What?
And that's the deal.
That's a coincidence.
That's the deal that Tony Bobulinski testified under oath, said Joe Biden was supposed to be a 10% equity owner in the deal. And then Jim Biden, remember when Hunter kicked Tony Bobulinski out, he increased his percentage and he increased Jim Biden's percentage. Jim Biden got the exact same percentage, and Joe Biden got the exact percentage of that first fee that they said in the email, where Joe Biden would be 10% for the big guy. It was the exact same percentage. And that was after that. Then Hunter starts getting on drugs, and some of the deals that they were supposed to do didn't happen. Then Joe decides he's going to run for president. But what I think is most interesting, not only do we catch that 10%, that money went to Joe Biden. He said that $40,000 was a loan from Jim Biden, a loan repayment, but he never showed where he loaned Jim Biden $40,000. There was another payment.
It was a loan repayment. No, but I want to pause on this for the audience so they get this. He was repaying a loan, but there's no evidence the original loan ever took place.
Never showed it. It said on the check, it was a handwritten check from Jim Biden to Joe Biden. Yeah. On the memo line of the check, it said loan repayment. So the media is like, well, that's good enough for me. Loan repayment. Well, that shows. Comer doesn't know what he's talking about. It says loan repayment. And I said, well, make Joe Biden show where he loaned him $40,000. And they never did. And then there was another payment to Joe for $200,000 from Jim Biden, which was a scheme from the AmeriCorps Health Scheme. This was a domestic fraud that involved Medicare and our tax dollars. Joe Biden got $200,000 from that. And again, it said loan repayment on the check, and he never showed where he loaned his brother $200,000. So we caught $250,000 going to Joe Biden. We caught it. We have the checks, the copy of the checks in the book, and yet the media wasn't concerned. Can you imagine if that were Donald Trump or one of the Trump kids? But that was $250,000. Joe Biden never paid a penny of taxes on it because he disclosed his taxes. But I said through the whole investigation, taxes don't mean anything. I was a director of a bank for over a decade. If you want to know where someone stands, look at their bank records. Their tax records don't mean anything. Look at the bank records. And Joe Biden never paid any taxes on that $250,000, much less the fact that he got $250,000 from a Chinese scam and a domestic scam of Medicare.